Morning and welcome to our UBC Learning Circle Intergenerational Friendships with Grandma Hazel, Squawkum, and Jessica Morin. Today's conversation is presented in partnership with the Center for Excellence in Indigenous Health. We'd like to thank the First Nations Health Authority for generously funding the UBC Learning Circle and allowing us to have these conversations. Before we formally begin, I would like to acknowledge with respect and gratitude that I'm joining you from the unceded territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh Nation. Please feel free to introduce yourselves and the nation you're calling in from in the chat box below. Today's Learning Circle will be exploring intergenerational friendships with Hazel Squawkin and Jessica Morin. I'll ask the panelists to introduce themselves in just a few moments. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Sarain Squawkin. I'm the UBC Learning Circle Manager, and I'll be the moderator for today's discussion. Joining us today, working behind the scenes, is Cynthia Long, our production coordinator. She'll be in the background interacting with everyone in the chat. Finally, before we get into today's discussion, I'd like to provide a gentle heads up that the topics covered may be sensitive or emotionally triggering. Please make sure that you are looking after yourself, and if at any point you feel that you need to talk to a friend, elder, counselor, family member, don't hesitate to do so. We have some prompts in the chat for you if you need additional support. Now I'll turn it over to our panelists to introduce themselves. You can introduce yourselves, Grandma.
Okay. Ison kalsquest kalitka. Ison sama squest Hazel Squawkum. I'm an elder from the Upper Small Canaan, and yes. And it's good to be here this morning. So we're going to share quite a bit, I think. And I welcome Jessica and Sarain and all the people that have signed in, I guess. And so good morning to everyone and have a good day. And happy journeys and good health to everyone. Thank you.
I'm Ani, Jessica Indigenous. My name is Jessica Morin, and I am a mother, a daughter, a sister, and an aunt. And I'm originally from Southwestern Ontario, come from mixed ancestry. My background, my ancestry is Ojibwe, French Canadian, and Polish. My Ojibwe lineage comes from the Chippewas of the Thames, just outside of London, Ontario, and I grew up in Ontario. I lived in the traditional territories of the Sinixt, the Syilx, and the Ktunaxa peoples for 20 years, and I'm now living in Mi'kmaq in the traditional territories of the Mi'kmaq people. So I'm joining you this afternoon from the East Coast, and I'm really grateful to be here, being connected to all of you this morning, and my friend Hazel and Sarain and my new friend Cynthia. And I'm just really excited to be connected and just have this opportunity across such far distances to feel close to all of you. So, Chimigwech.
Now, Hazel, did you want to open us up with prayer?
Yes. Hoi konjuten halako olo sap nais khalkhal takhai tamkhula tatiyat ko kaknula khakhai ko skail khakhai yat sweet Nico yat ko ikhlame ian hoiten tetot kai koks by twe is lacht dat aan hoiten se lacht dat Yatistemi tamkula khaisur ki itmi otla jak yatswit lut hanam slut ala el tamal klas is also otla khai is mamayat nis emateliat kolam otjak ili de hastik choice otla Jessica ihindihnut jak elskam stemksaken jatko haastajai sanam imat viskoskoasia isam silkalai koskailkala we ihi kultun. Thank you, Creator. I pray to the Creator to keep everyone safe, to guide us in our ways of life in this time of change and in this time of sickness that seems to be going through all our communities throughout our world. And I pray that all the grandmothers, nieces, nephews, the whole world is going through this sickness and trying to heal themselves, trying to help their families, their mothers, their grandmothers, their grandfathers, their children. And so I pray for the world's safety. I pray for all our people, for those children that did not make it home, that are still lost, our women. I pray for guidance for everyone, for the Creator to help our leaders in their thinking in this time of change and in this time of the world change, in this time of climate change and the illness, that we pray that we are healed somehow. Thank you, Creator. Wait.
Good one, Grandma. I'll open us up with the questions. First question is, how does your friendship inspire and support one another? I'll ask Jessica first.
That is such a great question. Well, I think that one of the most kind of enriching parts of our friendship, I would say, is for me is just the way Hazel, the way you role model, the way that you show me how to live in a graceful way in the world. And, just hearing your prayer is one of those examples that I feel so inspired by, taking time to really reflect on like those important aspects of life that, if we're busy in the day and, it's hard to take time to really think about everything that's going on outside of the immediate experience, of working or going to the grocery store or everything, but having time to really reflect on what's going on outside of my own life. And I think that, sometimes when we get to chat and we talk, we talk about lots of things that are going on in the world. And we talk about some of those aspects of life that are really important to reflect upon and just spend some time putting energy in that way. So for me, I just feel like, whenever Hazel and I have an opportunity to chat, it's a time to really like be reminded of some of those things. I often leave our conversations just feeling like I want to I want to be the best version of myself that I can be. So yeah, I feel like that's really supportive. Like that's one of the things that I feel really grateful for.
Grandma, how does your friendship inspire and support one another?
Mine? Well, I think I failed. I better mention I'm a mother, I'm an aunt, I'm a grandma, great grandma, and I'm also a grandmother to about 35 or so grandchildren. At one time we had more girls in our family than boys, but now maybe we have maybe equaled the odds. So, but my friendship, I think when I first met Jessica, we met at Selkirk College. And I feel so good when I'm in that traditional territory of my ancestors. And so I feel so inspired. I like to think of the phrase, walk in my moccasins for a mile, because that literally, to me, explains the territory my ancestors lived. They made a living for their children. They made the best of what this world offered. Our territories, all the things that was created for our benefit. And so, like Jessica said, we talk about, she was working for Selkirk, so she was working in education. And education and language, I is what I strive for and I support. And I don't know, when I speak to, sometimes I'm down a bit. When I speak to Jessica on the phone, doesn't matter where she's at when she calls me. She inspires me, she makes me feel good, she makes me feel proud of what she's achieved and what I have to think of how I'm going to live up to what how I can build a friendship out of my life, because to me I value our friendship. I value the people out there. I value my grandchildren. And I am very fortunate to have my grandchildren achieve so much, because my husband and I, when we held our daughter, our first child, we wanted to provide for them what we didn't have, because we were both residential school survivors. And we didn't have anyone, we only had each other. And so to me, I feel that I not only want to inspire Jessica, but I want to inspire parents, children, the youth, and to build friendships like what Jessica and I have. And so I encourage all the people, not only our youth, I want the grandmothers to reach out to the young people, their grandchildren, and to talk about their stories, because we need to hear each other's stories. And you know, there's talk about trauma in all our societies today. And I think that we need to talk about what makes us maybe hurt, maybe not reaching our goals that we have planned for our lives, for a better world, for a healthier life. And so I think that only we can achieve that, all as a First Nations and non-Native people and all the other nations in our world, if we all work together and we come to some compromise, because there's a pros and cons to everything. And that is the only way we can learn, is to listen to each other, offer a friendship, a helping hand to someone that is in need, and share our knowledge, share our language, share, even if it's just to say good morning to someone. I know some people, when I say good morning to them, they look at me like, who are you, you know? And yet I feel I'm trying to make someone feel good. And so I think that, I know there's a lot of changes in our lives today. There's a good change and some bad changes that have happened in all our lives, because we all live together on, there's only this one world we have. And so we experience all these, everything that happens to each one of us. And so I think that if we're going to inspire our youth, and we elders, parents, fathers, aunts, uncles, the women need to stand up and do their support of their families, because in our culture, our women were the go-getters. They were the backbone of the family, I guess I could say. And the men, they supported their women. They done the heavier work. And so I think that in today's society didn't look at us equally. And so in today's society, we need to work together. We need to support one another, whether it's to make a friendship, whether it's in your family, your grandchild that is trying to achieve something to make a better life for him or herself. You know, we need to look at our elders, how they prepared our world for our chance in life. But our responsibility as a First Nations is to pass on those knowledges that we learned today, that we share today for the future. We're not in a Canadian history, because our stories were told orally. And so maybe that's one change that may happen. But the world has to give us an equal chance, like anyone else, to make a better life for each other, for our children, for the future generations of First Nations. And you know, with all these stories coming out, there has to be a change. there has to be an admittance to someone somewheres, because as a First Nations woman, I have seen many changes go through our world, through our women, our children. And I don't know, I can't, I want to inspire the youth to achieve their potential. Only they can do it. I, as a mother, can only support them to a certain extent, and they have to walk on without me maybe, but I will be there to support them. And anyone else for that matter. You know, I offer my friendship to anyone that needs someone to talk to, that needs a friend. And I think that's the only way that I see a change that we all need to make together. Thank you.
Well spoken. Thank you, Grandma Hazel. Our next question is, how do you think people may go about seeking, maintaining, and honoring intergenerational friendships?
Well, I was thinking about when Hazel mentioned how we met initially through my work at Selkirk College. And I was thinking about how, you know, I was working in Indigenous services, so I was asked to more or less create space for Indigenous worldviews and, you know, connections to community, and primarily for students to feel welcome in the college as well. And just kind of had it really undefined what my work was supposed to be. It was really, I had the best time. I worked at Selkirk for 10 years, and it was just such a beautiful experience to be able to connect with folks in community. And, you know, I had met Hazel kind of through that work, and Hazel was coming to the college, and we were connecting sort of work related things. And then, you know, there's just something, I think for me, I felt like our friendship went beyond work, because we would have these amazing conversations that were, you know, really impactful. They changed my life. There was these learning opportunities that I had with sitting and learning. My whole worldview was, you know, changed by some things that I came to understand through Hazel and your sharing, you know, you sharing about your family's connection to the land, and some of your journey in life. And, you know, for me, I was just like, I don't know, just really, it was a friendship that just blossomed, you know, like we became friends. And so for me, I feel like it went beyond, you know, we met in a certain circumstance, but I noticed at one time when I was talking to Hazel and other elders that I was connecting with, that it didn't feel good just to call people for when I need something, you know, like to me, that was just something that I felt like I always think about, well, what do I have to give too? You know, like I can't always be asking for things. I want to be someone who's also giving. And so, you know, I think I don't necessarily feel like I have a lot of knowledge to share, but I I always just like checking in and, just like, oh, and because, for instance, I'm always wondering, oh, how's Hazel doing? Like I'm curious because it's been a while since we chatted. So I'll pick up the phone and just check in and say hello. So for me, I just feel like, I don't know. I also think about, I have so many other friends that age isn't really a thing that isn't really a consideration. And I thought about that earlier before we were doing our session today, and I thought, I do respect that Hazel is an elder and as someone who has this wealth of life experience beyond my years and time, but as far as our friendship goes, it's like the age, there's no it doesn't really matter if a friend is the same age as you or older than you. Like friendship is friendship. And so I don't know, for me, that's just what I think about is when there's somebody I feel like sharing some exciting news with, or, who I've chatted with previously about maybe a goal I had, or, something like that. I like to share that with Hazel because I know she'll be excited for me. And so I think for that, that's one way that I try to honor and our friendship is just not, I want it to be making sure that I'm giving, that it's a two-way process for us, that we're not just, I don't always need to be asking for things. I like to offer as well. So yeah, that's one important aspect for me.
Grandma, how do you think people may go about seeking, maintaining, and honoring intergenerational friendships?
Intergenerational friendships. So we're talking about elders, we're talking about the youth. And to me, there's no age gap in between. And I think when I think of the intergenerational group, I think we need to first of all, I think we need to be honest with each other. We need to inspire our youth we need to overcome these differences, I guess. We need to accept one another as we are today, tomorrow, next year, whatever the time is. We need to part in the changes that are coming. And as a First Nations, as a whatever nation, whatever people we are in this world, we have to, as a First Nation, first of all, I want to share in the changes that are coming for our people, for our youth. I want our youth to heal, to quit, to stop and consider themselves, first of all. Respect, because that's what my grandmother taught me as a child and as a teenager. And to respect myself, my body, my whole system, because that is the only that's who I am. And so I always think of other people that way. We we are given a mind to think with. We are given our hands, feet, ears, lips, eyes by the Creator. We need to use those to the best of our ability. Take care of ourselves. Take care of our health. Not to use the drugs anymore. I have to be honest with the youth. You know, they speak to your grandmother, speak to your parents about the hurt you're going through right now. Seek help somehow. And we need to, as people, as adult men and women, we need to admit that we need to do something in these changes. We need to listen. We need to hear. We need to see what our children are going through, and inspire our youth so they can reach their potential and feel good about themselves. And because in this time of change, we're all going to be working towards something. And so we're going to be reaching out to people for a friendship, for a change, for another person's opinion, another person's maybe inspiring words of wisdom, words of praise, whatever it's going to take. Because we all need a word, a kind word, to give us the okay to be different, to be. I know we all don't think alike. We're all unique in our own way, but we are who we are. And so we need to take a step forward and maybe help an elder, visit an elder. So I want the youth to understand that there is someone out there that may need a helping hand, may need to get an elder to tell their stories. And the youth can share their stories and work towards a good friendship, to begin to understand one another, to accept each other, because only through acceptance and willingness to change and to take part in that and be heard, be willing to take the first step to speak to an elder, to a youth. We have our children. We have them for say 14, 16 years, and then they go on their way. And so we have that time to build a bond with our children, with our nieces, nephews, cousins, relatives, whoever it is. We have that time to build that bond. And to, when you leave home, not to forget to call your mother, your father, your aunt, for that support, for that kind word, for a word of encouragement. And your mother, your father may need a word of understanding. Also, your grandmother. Because I know at my age now, I understand the elders, what they're going through. I want to be able to be mobile myself for many years yet, however long I'm going to be alive for, and so I want that for everyone else. I wish that we all had someone that we rely on, that we could call on to in a moment of doubt about something, about whatever that feeling of discomfort. How can I describe it? That to, I can't think of a word right now, but I want to encourage the youth, because in our communities, we are trying to, the intergenerational, we're trying to reach them because the world seems to be focusing on our intergenerational people right now. We need to help them grow. We need to help them heal, because they are going to be the leaders tomorrow. They are going to speak for our people, for themselves. They're going to become parents one day and to encourage, to teach about their history. And so we as First Nations need to start talking about our ancestors' stories, how they made the world a better place for our coming, for our needs, our health, our education. For many years, we did not go to school like today. We are leaving that education system to someone else. And so our way of life needs to be included. And so we need to be involved in those changes, to build that friendship, to break down those borders, those I can't think of a word right now, but there is so many what am I looking for? I need a word a word of inspiration, a kind word, a recognition, an admittance. So if you disagree with your mother, your father, forgive each other at the end of the day. Say a kind word, say a prayer. Pray all the time. You can pray anywhere. In our culture, we pray anywhere. And you need strength. We all need some kind of a spiritual belief system. It doesn't have to be just a creator. We all have different, we are all unique in our own way. And so we need to recognize that potential so that our youth can go forward. And we as elders, as parents, as grandfathers, aunts and uncles need to take a part in that and to share in a friendship, build on that friendship with the youth included, with the babies, nephews, nieces, whoever. Thank you.
Thank you. That's very beautifully spoken. And how does your friendship nurture your cultural and language practices?
Well, for me, I guess I'm really inspired by, well, a lot of things, but when I lived in BC for over 2 decades of my life, I didn't have a lot of cultural teachings from where I grew up of the Ojibwe culture. I didn't know a lot growing up. I didn't learn a lot from my grandmother. In fact, we didn't even talk about her being Ojibwe. Like we couldn't. I think I am almost positive she's a residential school survivor because she would get really, really upset. And she was my great grandmother. And so anyways, she passed away when I was 9 and I didn't get the cultural teachings. But having said that, when I moved to the West Kootenay area, and started my work at Selkirk, I, was fortunate enough to be in community, meeting people, going to events and learning language, the Insulting language. I did language classes and I learned so much about where I was living. And well, it's probably still just like a small amount, but it enriched me and my connection to the earth and to the land. And the language was when I started to learn a bit of the Insulting language. I started to, through that period of time, also really doing my own work kind of to learn more about my Ojibwe heritage and stuff. So I was kind of learning a lot about my own indigeneity in like Hazel's traditional territory. And so while I'm not Seal, I felt like this connection to wanting to learn more about, traditional ways and traditional ways of being. And I feel like it's part of who I am anyways. It's something that's always been there, but being able to do some of my own research around culture, and I have lots of Ojibwe mentors and different people who've shared a lot of cultural knowledge with me, and I've been taking language classes. A lot of my kind of interest in doing that was really inspired by language classes that I attended with Hazel and stories that I heard about, the creation stories, the land. And so I think for me, just, Hazel has always seen me as an Indigenous person. She's always seen me as the Indigenous person that I am. Or that part of me, and I have mixed ancestry, that it really kind of gave me this, I guess, I don't know what the word is. It's like a encouragement, I guess, to really learn about where I'm from. Like it's nice to learn, of course, where you live. And, I hope to learn some of the Mi'kmaq language when being here in Mi'kmaqi. And, it's really important to know about where you live, but it's also really important to know about where you're from. And it's something that she's always encouraged for me, is to learn about my ancestors' culture, my people's culture, and so when I think about like, I'm a French speaker, I know lots about my French ancestry, and I've been learning a lot about my Ojibwe kind of background and culture, and where my family is from, and all of the laws of the culture and stuff. And there are some similarities, and there are some differences, and I like to share sometimes things that I learn with Hazel. I was saying earlier, I finished a session of language classes today. I've been taking them since January, and it's just been really important to practice that language, because I feel like in that way I'm honoring my ancestors too, and knowing that for whatever reasons I didn't have that passed on to me in my family, but it doesn't prevent me from learning now, and it doesn't prevent me from reclaiming that, because there's been so many interruptions in a lot of our cultural traditional ways of passing on knowledge and culture. It's been so colonized, like with the everything that happened with colonization. I feel like it's my duty as a descendant, to keep it up. And before there's too much language, there's so much language loss happening. So yeah, I'm just motivated. I'm a jingle dress dancer. I've been dancing for many years now, and that's a traditional dance that really grounds me in my kind of spiritual practice of being an Ojibwe person, and being able to kind of share the values of prayer that are associated with that. And for me, it's very sacred, and that's something that's shared across Turtle Island too. So I feel connected through my dance, and yeah, there's just lots of ways that I like to celebrate all parts of my background, but in particular right now, I'm very much interested in taking some time to dedicate, I guess, to learning about my Ojibwe, my Anishinaabe ways of practicing and honoring my ancestors. So, and I attribute that to just being inspired by other people like Hazel, who are language speakers and who hold those values so near and dear to their like every day. It's part of of who people are, and I feel like I want to embody those things too, because our ancestors are they've carried those teachings for so many generations, and they come from wisdom of the land, and wisdom of the relationship with Creator, and they came close to being lost and taken away at no fault of our own. As Indigenous people, it's been it was a very hard time, I think, over the last several generations to hold on to those things. So we have to honor our ancestors by not letting them get lost, I think. So that's how I feel inspired by Hazel's language and teachings. It makes me want to learn more too. Thank you. Miigwech.
Thank you, Jessica. And Hazel, how does your friendship nurture your cultural and language practices?
My friendship, I think I think I have a value system and I have a belief system that is I like to think that what I have learned about our culture, our language, our way of life is very valuable. And so I think that I think as an elder, as a mother, grandmother, and sister, and a friend, I think that I like to share what I have learned, and I care what happens to people. It comes from my thoughts, my caring, my belief system, and so I value that very much because of what we as children went through. I must say we, because when we talk about the residential school children, survivors, I am talking about myself and other elders. We are the survivors. And so, so today we are trying to heal ourselves and to heal our youth, because they are the intergenerational, maybe the second or third intergenerational youth of today. And so to me, I need to reach out to all those younger people so that I could reach them somehow with a word. I'm not sure what each person is looking for, but I recognize that each one of us needs a kind word, a word of inspiration, a word of praise. There's so many things that is not going to cost me anything if I say a kind word or recognition to anyone, I think. And so when I reach out to people, it's because I want to make, I may feel good for when I get up, and I want other people, I want my neighbor to feel good. I want to inspire them so that they can have a good day, have the ability, have the strength to go on. Because I know with all the challenges we face as a parent, as a grandmother, as an aunt, uncle, whatever, life is quite hard sometimes. And so I don't know. I pray all the time that I could find a word to say to a youth. I want to reach out to someone, to shake a hand, to reach across a space, to reach across the different nations, to inspire people, so they can recognize their own potential. Because not only I have the potential to go beyond my ability to do things, anyone else, but they have to make the change. I can only hold a hand for a certain distance, and then that person has to go on their own. I can teach them all the life skills, all the inspiration, but they need to go on without me sometime. They need to take that first step, not be afraid. So they need to learn, they need to be proud of who they are. They need to know they have the strength. We all have a certain amount of strength in us, the willpower to go on, the inspiration, the spiritual belief, the we use our eyes, ears to look around us, to I don't know, we need to build on, doesn't matter how small a piece of something, a piece of our life, a piece of change that is happening within our lives. We need to, only we can make those changes. Only we can heal ourselves. We need to, but we need our neighbors' support, our children's, maybe it's admiration. I don't know what it is. We need to, there needs to be like a two-way. I feel now that I live like on a two-way street because I speak my language and I speak English. And so, and today I am speaking to you people with a tool that I can see you, whereas my people told stories orally, did not have this ability to see people except in their neighborhood. And today Jessica is miles away, and so, you know, I feel good just seeing her smile, her beautiful smile, and serene. I can't touch her, but I know she's there. And I see that she looks healthy. They both look healthy and are, you know, it makes me feel good. And serene is a piece of me. And so in life, that I think is all that I ask for, is that with my grandchildren, that they have someone to inspire them to reach out one day to inspire someone else. So I think as a world, we all need a helping hand every now and then. We need to share a thought, a kind word, a pat on the shoulder, maybe a hug. You know, those are, I can give you a ticket and say, okay, Jessica, this is my hug through the space to you, to Serene, to my children, my grandchildren. My spirit, my thoughts go through miles and miles to inspire you, to protect you. I pray for all these things, for your health, for your safety, for a safe haven for you. And so I think we as parents, grandparents, I think that's all that we want. But I don't think I can speak for all people. This is my feeling, is that for First Nations people, I think we want the best naturally for our children. We want them to experience all the things that our people experience through life, through their livelihood. Because only then can you learn something when life challenges you, when life stops you for a second. How are you going to overcome that? And so I have to give you the ability, the permission to make your own choices. So that, and so I, as a grandmother, did I speak to you about safety, about who you are, about being proud of being a First Nations woman, a child. So, yeah, I think maybe that is what I offer as a friendship, as a grandmother, as a First Nations. Thank you.
Thank you. And how can you create a space where you feel comfortable to open up to share your stories with each other? I think you're on mute.
Thanks. I was, just thinking about, like, Hazel and I talk about politics. We talk about world, news always. We're always talking about the news and all kinds of things. So, sometimes, we have maybe different perspectives. And we will share, what we're thinking about this or what we're thinking about that. And so, I think that sometimes I have to ask, like, oh, is this what you mean by that? So seeking clarity sometimes if I don't understand something, or if I'm just thinking like, oh, that's an interesting point, like asking for to talk about that a little bit more, because I think that because we have different perspectives and while age isn't necessarily a factor in our friendship, we do have different kind of, I think, generational experiences from some of the things that we've experienced in our lifetimes. So, it's interesting sometimes how our perspectives might be different, but when we share our ideas about, something to do with current events or a political kind of commentary, or, I know we'll be having a further conversation about the recent trip to Rome that folks just had. So, sharing some ideas about what we think about those things, I think just creates a space where I don't have to worry if I don't know something, if that Hazel will judge me, because I know she doesn't judge me for like something I don't know, or and a perspective that might be different. And I feel that same way for her. Like if I don't, it's rare that I disagree that we have any kind of real differing perspectives, but it's almost like sometimes when I hear your ideas, Hazel, about something, it gives me a a deeper kind of understanding of something. It builds on something I was thinking, and so I like that, just creating a space where we can just chat, about whatever, um, and not have judgment about, and I don't feel worried that Hazel's judging me. And then, I like to be really respectful, obviously. I don't try, it's important. Sometimes if we're chatting on the phone, we might start to chat at the same time, and then we kind of say, oh, you go ahead, or that kind of thing. And another thing is we have some good laughs sometimes too. We laugh about funny things, like, good humor. I'll tell a joke or something, and I think it's always reaffirming when you think my jokes are funny. And so I try to, I don't know, just, we have fun. And I think that that's a good way too, that we feel comfortable, and especially, and meeting in person for coffee or for lunch is always a really nice treat too, because then we can walk together, or, just, we haven't had an opportunity to connect in person for quite a while, but I know every time I was, traveling over to the Okanagan, it was just, we always tried to meet up for a meal. And another thing, just kind of like, this is something that I feel is really important, is, because Hazel and I have worked together for several years, and, oftentimes she was traveling a far distance, like to come and, do things at Selkirk College, and whether it would be a part of a meeting or a presentation that, she was part of, sometimes arriving late in the evening, or, anything like that. And for me, it was like, I always wanted, if I could, I always wanted to be there when you arrived. Like, to me, that was just really an important piece about just being, like, you travel all this distance, and for me, I just have to travel, 20 minutes or whatever. So it's like, I just always honor the kind of like time that I think that's a really important part, is just, I'm so thankful for every effort that you've ever made. And for me, it's like, I want to give the same, and so, you were traveling a lot over to the Kootenays, or to the West Kootenays, like Castlegar area. And so I was always like, it's my turn. I want to go to Penticton and visit, like, it's my turn to do the drive. And so and every time I did make those journeys, it just, for me, was like, okay, this is your traditional territory. And so whenever I was traveling in that beautiful landscape, it just helped me, like, honor the land too. And so, yeah, that's just one thing, is like, I'm excited to visit you this summer, and to travel over there, and, if we go for breakfast or lunch or a coffee, it will be really nice to sit with you. And the pandemic was not very visitor friendly over the last couple of years. So I know a lot of people are really, have been set, at a distance from each other for a long time. But I look forward to our in-person visits again at some point.
Thank you, Jessica. Hazel, Grandma Hazel, how can you create a space where you feel comfortable to open up, to share your stories with each other?
Well, I think as long as I have my phone whether I'm in my car or at my house or I'm outside, I feel good when I call Jessica because I know we're going to have a laugh or two and we're going to share an opinion about a topic we may have just an idea to speak about, or she may ask me a question about something, about language, about culture. And I try not to invade her space because I want her to feel good about herself, about what she's doing, because to me that's important when she works with the Native students at the Selkirk and working with the grandmothers over there. They're different nations too, and they all have formed a committee of some kind where they work with the students there. And so to me, that's quite an inspiration for some youth to learn from each nation that they meet at Selkirk. They learn how to bead, maybe, how to weave, how to do things. And I know I shared that with my grandmother as a small child. And so to me, I have that today. And so I think of anything that our youth today need to find something that they can share with their grandmothers, their grandfathers, their parents even, or find someone to share those with, ask questions. They may be disciplined, but sometimes you need to overlook an elder's words because an elder, I know, does not hold back, will tell you their ideas. And it's only through those can we share a word or two, maybe. But when you think about our elders' words, they are talking from their experiences in life, how they learned, how their grandparents, ancestors taught them too. And so we need to continue with that conversation, that type of conversation between the intergenerational and grandparents, aunts and uncles, because our aunts and uncles were our teachers in all our communities. Grandmothers told the legend stories, talked about the teachings of all the harvesting practices, the hunting, the place names, the name giving, all those practices that the schools try to erase from us. It's all there yet. All we need to do is to find the words to continue with that, because that is who we are. That is a way of our life. And so I think maybe that's all I can think of right now, but I know I have as long as I feel comfortable when Jessica calls, I feel good knowing that it's her calling me. And I know that we can talk about anything. and we share our ideas because of my age and all the changes I've lived through. I can give her a different perspective. I don't think I want to make her feel uncomfortable, but I see life from a different side of things. I try to look at life on a healthier scale, on a more giving, on a healthier note, an inspirational word here and there, a kind word, a recognition and admittance of who I am, of who we are as a nation. And I think maybe I'll leave it at that. Thank you, Saray and Jessica.
And then the last question, it's kind of a big one. Do you have any words of encouragement for elders, young people, and encourage youth and elders to share their stories?
Well, I mean, I feel like my words of encouragement are just to go out and meet people, and friendships sometimes I think come in surprising ways. It's hard to sometimes find a friend when you're looking for one, but when you have good conversations, sometimes friendships just inevitably happen. And because if you listen to the words that someone's sharing, and if you're sharing too and building ideas, like there's a magical thing that happens, I think, through friendship and through conversation. And I think just thinking about Hazel and some of the things that you've shared about, like those words of encouragement and different perspectives, like we were talking about, and things like that. It's so good just to go in without any expectation, I think, is a really, being open and open to learning, open to sharing. And just thinking about what are those cultural values, I think too, that our ancestors have gifted us, and how can we carry them in our day-to-day and live in a good way and walk in a good way, and use all of our senses that we have, whichever senses that we have to use, they're gifts also. And so if we're able to hear, listen, and if we can just see things and be present and have love in our hearts, and speak kindness with kind words, walk gently, not taking kind of more than we need. I think about that value of just honesty too, and just like and just kind of honesty, respect, humility, knowing that like there's so much yet I don't know. And there's so many times that I might make mistakes too. And I think, elders in particular, I think, are just really forgiving and really kind. And, they're like, I feel like just really good role models in knowing that like our paths are big, we have these paths we can walk in this world. And just and friends help us do that, I think, in a good way, if we are come with a goodness in our hearts. And so I think that's all I'll say would be my words of encouragement.
Thank you, Jessica. And do you have any words of encouragement for elders and young people? Encourage youth and elders to share their stories. Hazel, Grandma Hazel?
Well, I want to encourage elders, doesn't matter where they're at today. I want to say to them, you know, talk to someone, talk to your grandchildren. Have the spirit in you to dare to speak to the youth, to break through those walls. They have built a wall around themselves. We need to reach them. We need to reach their spirit selves. And so, and I think maybe our elders throughout the world needs to speak to their grandchildren, to have the ability to find the words of encouragement, of recognition, of giving, of sharing their knowledge, their asking their youth if they need a word, a hug, whatever it may be. And the youth, they need to recognize the potential, the knowledge, our elderly people, doesn't matter where they are, have a lot of knowledge today because they have lived a long time. And throughout life, if they're like anyone else, they have learned a lot about the world around them. And so they got to share that with their grandchildren, tell their stories. Where did they come from? How did they get here? What language do they speak? Do they share their language? Do they, because in our languages, we have words of encouragement, we have words of teaching, we have words of course, we have the laws, we have our legal terms, we have our parental names for everyone. We have animal names, we have place names. And so in our language, in our culture, we have all the things that we need. And so for all the youth that are out there, I encourage you, I dare you to take that first step to have I want to inspire the youth. I want to give them the power. I want to recognize their potential, all the youth, whether they're boys or girls or even the parents, the uncertain parent. We seem to have a lot of single parents today. They need to find grandparents for their children so that their children can hear stories maybe from those elders. We need to tell our stories around the world, share our stories. The world needs to recognize that this sun comes up and the sun goes down, and the changes that happen to us as a people happens during those times and at night also. But we need to rest our minds, our bodies. We need to heal ourselves. And so, if anything, I want the youth, I want to hear maybe a question from the youth. How can they help themselves to have a better life? But I'm sure that they can find an elder close to them. But through this type of media, I can be reached maybe to anyone that needs a word of encouragement, a word of recognition, a word of inspiration. I think that all the grandmothers throughout the world should take their place in life again. The women, our women were our backbone in a family. They need to take their place. They need to, some cultures don't recognize the potential of their women. I'm probably going overboard here, but I think that with all the stories that are happening and with the changes that are happening, I think that we need to, if our youth is going to heal and our world is, we want our world to become a better place for all nations, then we need to make those changes. And so I think maybe, I thank you, Serene, for your questions. And I realize that your department is like a healthy department. And so I hope that that I have reached someone to become healthy in all ways of their lifestyle, of themselves, because they were born for a purpose in life. We all were. We all were given a chance to experience life, to have an experience and to share that experience later in life to anyone. But first of all, to our children, our grandchildren, our families. And, but we can take a small part of that and share it with our neighbors, with our youth, our grandmothers, our elders, our sickly people were all taken care of by our nations. They were not left behind like today. And so I lift up my hands up to all the women that care for their mothers in those homes. I pray for those women, for their recognition, the way they value their parents, their mothers. And so I think that's all I have to say. Serene, thank you.
Thank you. We just have one question from the audience. The question is there a traditional story that can help with the difficulties we experience when we draw boundaries, reach out, we extend kindness, and how to be around our children who are unable to receive or keep hurtful behavior towards others and themselves?
Is that a question for me? Or
Question for both of you. You can answer first, though, Grandma. Do you have an answer?
You want me to speak first?
Sure.
Okay, I think, can you ask that there seems to be 2 or 3 different questions all in one. Can you one at a time, Serene?
Is there a traditional story that can help with the difficulties we experience when we have to draw boundaries?
When you go to elders?
Boundaries. Do you have any traditional stories around boundaries?
Around boundaries?
Yeah.
Hmm. Well, I think if you're, how can I put that to its full potential? First of all, you respect an elder for their age, for their knowledge, for their words of wisdom, because in our customs, our traditional way of life, you had to go and visit an elder maybe 3, 4 times. And you introduce yourself, you tell the elder, you speak of your ancestors. First of all, you identify yourself, your ancestors, and you make sure you show respect to the elder. You speak slower than you, if it's a youth or if it's a younger person. Don't try not to be rude. Speak to an elder in softer tones. Don't speak to an elder like you speak to your parents or to your brother or to a neighbor. And show respect in all ways of life to an elder. And ask your questions eventually. You may have to bring a gift of something. Doesn't matter how small, or doesn't need to be an expensive object, I don't think. It's how you think, and you're saying thank you to the elder for their answers. And so when you ask an elder a question, you may not get an answer right away because the elder may, mind you, from the first time you meet an elder, they're sizing you up. How are you? How your demeanor, your knowledge maybe of your culture, your respect. It all shows in how you speak to an elder, to your parents, your place in a community. And so those are all our traditional ways of life of treating an elder. And so, yeah, I think that's but all I can say about that question, Serene. And what was the other one?
The other question was how to be around our children who are unable to receive and who keep hurtful behavior towards others and themselves.
Okay. But I would say that the parents need to discipline. We need to discipline our children at a younger age to where they show respect to their grandparents and to their aunts and uncles and to the whole family. And so we treat everyone that way. but we respect our grandparents first of all, because you through your parents are born into that family. And so you learn from your grandparents, you learn from your aunts and uncles. And eventually, you must remember that not only your grandparents are your teachers, life itself will challenge you. And so you need to have a thought as to how are you going to handle something? How are you going to help yourself? And so you need to train your mind, your body, your thoughts to because only through those teachings will you be able to be where you reach your own potential with your self-esteem, your self-respect, and your knowledge of where you come from. And so our youth today have a lot of technical tools. And so in a family, they don't speak to each other anymore. Their children are on those computers, those phones, those technical instruments. Whereas that's one of the changes that has happened in our families. And so we need to teach our young children maybe at an earlier age, because only then can we reach our children and to continue teaching our children. Maybe that they have a limited time of using those, and to learn how to share a story, learn how to take part in a family conversation. And only then can you learn how to get along in society, because you need to be able to go out and get a job. You need to be able to speak to a neighbor, to an elder. You need to be able to have some kind of survival skills maybe, but you need more than that. You need your self-respect. You need to recognize who you are. You're valuable as a child. Okay? Thank you.
Do you have anything else to add, Jessica?
Oh, that was just so, yeah, a lot of insight, ideas, and good advice. I was just thinking about, when, just wanted to add one thing. I had a good lesson from one of my children one day. They were kind of in that teen time where there was like some clashing of chores and, like all this kind of like time where I felt they were being really disrespectful, not listening, not following, like not cleaning their rooms, not telling me, all the things I was demanding to know, and, all of these things. And it was really interesting because one time my son said to me, I said, "You need to show respect to me." And he said, "Yeah, and you need to show respect to me as well." And that was a really whoa moment for me, because I just realized like I was asking for him something that I wasn't giving to him. And so it helped us a lot. It helped me. I kind of was a little bit, I had to go away and talk to my partner about that, and he said, well, he has a point, you know, and I was like, oh, so then it just helped me kind of reframe how I approach things with him. I'm not sure that's like appropriate for every scenario, but it just it reminded me of that too, Hazel, when you said that the young people have to learn how to have conversations and to have family conversations and things like that, because yeah, I think that young people sometimes, they just want to be treated with respect and not like they're, you know, that they don't know things. They do have a lot to teach us. And when you were talking about how to approach and, you know, kind of, if you're asking something from an elder, how to do that, I thought we should kind of do that with everybody that we are interacting with, you know, a certain level of kindness, that we're going like, why is it that we have different tones with different people in our families? You know, like it just made me think about that. So yeah, just some good thoughts there. So thanks for all of that. And thanks, Lorraine.
Thank you. Thank you both, Grandma Hazel and Jessica. It's been really great. Thank you for joining, and thank you for everyone for joining us today. And thank you so much for the guests, Hazel and Jessica, for the amazing discussion around intergenerational friendships and how to maintain and support them. It was great to learn about your guys' friendship and how it flourishes and how it ebbs and flows and how you guys maintain it through your distance. Just before we end the webinar, we'd love to bring your attention to our upcoming UBC Learning Circle webinars showing off. So we have Connecting Indigenous Cultural Safety and Addressing Racism in the Healthcare System with Harley Eagle. And then we have Birthing Through Transformation, a collective vision of growth and connection and inclusion with the Kalila Birth Collective. And Harley Eagle will be on April 12th and the Kalila Birth Collective will be on April 22nd. So sign up at the UBC Learning Circle page. And all these webinars are free to sign up for. And thank you for joining us today. And we look forward to seeing everyone at our next Learning Circle. Limlet, thank you.
Thank you.